I was just telling a story. I appeared on the stage in India national diabetes event since 9 years ago. But the first event was just like this because it was the last talk, and then it was so much delay that everybody already went to party. And today I think everybody is still enjoying party. But I came with a very special mission. I'm going to do an impossible mission to end diabetes in 30 minutes with a new century for with a new theory for new century. I want to start with something that all of us very familiar. Columbus, India. Columbus found India in Caribbean, and today we all know it's a new world. But do you know that till his death, he absolutely believed that it was India. So what I want to show here is what do we see in diabetes? Isn't it possible we are in the same Columbus, India? Insulin, as a miracle discovery, changed the life and made world fame by immediately introducing commercial insulin same year and the Nobel Prize the next year. So we have absolutely certainty sugar and insulin are related and at the core of diabetes. And after that, something even more interesting. Two young students found a substance while they were looking for insulin. And then they realized something different against sugar. They call it glucagon. And then later on, scientists dive into glucagon and say, okay, glucagon is also relevant because it leading sugar increase hyperglycemia. And then, in course, glucagon-centric diabetes reconstruction that also make it very relevant. So now, three create world. We have the diabetes world now. We have a sugar, we have an insulin control sugar, we have glucagon give sugar. So diabetes is most certain. That is that last century we had the sugar rush. And IDF definition, diabetes chronic disease, when insulin is no longer be used or produced in pancreas. Let me starting with a challenge of logic. If indeed that is the reason, sugar management with a diet or surgery reverse diabetes by just without managing anything, just diet or surgery, about a 50%. Okay, take average. Now let's look at what happened with the diabetes with using insulin. Real life study without insulin, without drug is the best. Without insulin is second. With insulin, without insulin, second best. Add medication and insulin is the third. The last is with insulin. If it's today, insulin won't even get a clinical approval. Am I right? UKPDS, after 25 years, what they show, there's no difference between treatment and diet after 25 years. So research is to say what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. And this is what I'm going to start with this mission of looking to everybody has seen, but think what everybody has thought about a new theory. So isn't it possible within the wrong land? Yes, diabetes is not about sugar, and glucagon is not about sugar. So what is about? Glucagon is the Schindler, condemned as the enemy of the state. Why? Because new research shows glucagon is actually not managed sugar. It's actually managing amino acid metabolism. And even more to that, it's actually essential for ureagenesis to normalize amino acid and ammonia. What does that mean? Let's look at the devil protein in the product. Why is the devil? Protein has two things different from sugar or fat is nitrogen residue and the carbon skeleton. So I have two components associated. So basically, it is a metabolic bone and Clyde. The crime that it commit life and death. Is that true? Ammonia, the corrosive death squad, a highly lethal metabolic neurotoxin, and a small increase can lead to death. And in reality, it is 1,000 times more toxic than ethanol. And hyperammonia is first grade medical emergency. So compared to diabetes, you can die in 2 to 4 days. And you have a brain edema and brain fog, all these things. So where this ammonia coming from? From our diet, liver, from gut, from muscle wasting, and kidney disposal glucogen, nitrogen. Its effect on the body, you can go through whatever we talk about, any diseases, all linked here, and including endoplasmic reticulum, which I'm going to list a little more. So let's see, protein in T is toxic. You look at a PubMed, there's already so many publications, and you're looking at a conclusion. Long-term perspective study shows high protein associated insulin resistant, diabetes, cancer, all those diseases. And even listed inside, looking at dementia, Alzheimer, fatty liver, all associated with ammonia. And ammonia has only one exit, unfortunately. And that exit, who holds the key? Glucose. You must go through urea. And in the liver, it's the only place that all the enzymes to create ureagenesis. This is where glucose true hero is doing. So there are 4 different states of glycemia. The normal state, what we're looking at, when you have hypoglycemia, glucose is a hero to bring the sugar up to save your life. But when you have a meal, then what happened? Glucose didn't come out for give you sugar. It came to save your life. Because as soon as you have a protein intake, nitrogen has to be removed, ammonia. So for that reason, when you're doing this, remember I said ammonia, nitrogen, also paired with a carbon residue. So most amino acids glucogenic. So sugar increase not because of glucose, it's because amino acid. So that's why with every insulin you use, when you have a diet, the sugar level won't go down. And when you develop into diabetes, glucose come out again, not for sugar. It's actually energy expenditure. And also in the last stage, to save your life, because the heart all require glucose to pump your heart. And I will address that too even more. So when we look at the diabetes as a sugar problem to suppress glucose, you ended up you miss the suppress the protein catabolism, particularly this toxic effect, energy catabolism, and lipid catabolism. So all this has been suppressed. So then a beta cell must go and turn into alpha cell or alpha cell hypertrophy, because alpha cell is where glucose comes from. So now I'm going to move the next logic, metabolic circuit, just like electric circuit. What is beta cell? It's the fuse of a circuit. Because when you have this competition between insulin and glucose, you lead to ammonia. then you have very important ammonia come out and change the pH level. Very important. And I'm going to touch base on this. Why so important? This is a lot of misconception. I put a simple way before I go deeper to let you understand. Carbon, we are carbon material, building block. Nitrogen, why so dangerous? Nitrogen is a building block for nucleotide. So unless you want to replicate your protein or DNA, not protein, DNA, you don't want to have nitrogen. So that's why the body actually creating all this, including autophagy, etc., ROS, these things. But I wouldn't go through all the detail because there are a lot of things we're going to touch base today in the short 30 minutes. So let's look at the diagram. Why beta cell is the fuse? Because ammonia come out. One thing it does, ammonia paired with proton. Proton in the liquid in the body is actually reduced pH level. Why important? My friend, you can keep on breathing. If your pH level goes up, oxygen won't relieve. It's Bohr effect. Simple as that. So the pH level goes up, then what happened? The first thing, lymphosomal, very important for autophagy. It won't work. The next thing, the fuse beta cell. It requires oxygen and require lower pH. It won't work. And then to go to the liver cell, the alpha, and in the end, only cell can survive with a high pH. You're left with alpha, fat, and the cancer cell. That's the simple biology. And what we do in medicine diabetes, we're strengthening the fuse. The stronger living, the bigger flood. So by suppressing glucagon, we increase hypoammonia. Then you have this consequence. You have a nitrogen rerouting. Because when nitrogen cannot be removed through urea, then you have another process happen, transamination, right? We all understand in liver what that means. Because that's when the urea cannot genesis, and then you have to move the nitrogen. The nitrogen cannot stay. So you have to move. In the end, parallel to that, you have salinity intracellular. pH level goes up. If you ever stayed in a swimming pool, you have a swimming pool, you know. To keep swimming pool clean, your pH level must be low, right? So also advanced glycation and the product, all these things, AGEs. We don't need to talk about Indian diabetes doctors. They all know. I know this for many years. And then they end up adaptive survival. So cancer, Warburg effect, all coming up. So survival, why cancer? Cancer requires two things. One is energy input that is very strong with sugar. The second is replication of protein, which require nitrogen. So glutamine is a perfect candidate because when you cannot be, then the nitrogen will be transferred into glutamine, and this becomes a perfect fertile nature base for cancer. And not only cancer, liver disease, gut, all these things, and in particular neurodegenerative diseases. Because today, I'm not going to talk about diabetes, I'm not going to expand, but I'm going to talk about very simply ammonia, the hidden treasure source in the neurotoxicity. Because the brain cannot pee. If your brain ammonia goes up, you die in 2 to 4 days. That's why ammonia is so important. And so brain have to use the glutamine cycle, use the astrocyte taking up. So you ended up, you deplete ATP. Why? Because ammonia binding with Pronto, as I said, pronto is actually very important. Electric transfer chain require ATP. So when you deplete the ATP, you don't have energy production. Even you have the process, you end up at toxic buildup. So the logic in diabetes is fundamentally wrong. We suppress glucagon. We keep on presenting insulin. Then what happens? You create ER stress. I mentioned endoplasmic reticulum. This ER stress creates protein misfolding. How important misfolding of protein? You know, those Asians, they eat human flesh. You have that misfolding. Okay? Today, then this happened, the body naturally responds called unfold protein response. So what happened? It has to shut down all protein synthesis. What does it mean? Protein synthesis requires insulin. So when you treating diabetes patient constantly with so much insulin, you promoting insulin, promoting protein synthesis. So that's why beta cell must go, insulin must go. And we, in diabetes, we're looking at a sugar as the gold mine. Completely wrong logic. There's not even type 1, type 2 diabetes. There's only one mechanism, catabolic, anabolic. So before insulin, everything is catabolic. After insulin, every patient is anabolic. And now I want to go through the next step. Where is everything happen? Cholesterol. Diet will never be the same after 1984. So what do? We take out the fat, we left the protein and the sugar on our plate. And protein and sugar naturally is AGE formation, right? But high this intake creates what? Confrontation. This also, I created this concept called glucagon insulin parallel release. This again, this is all people haven't realized. When you do OGTT, insulin goes up, glucagon goes up, perfect. But as soon as you have a mixed diet, this is a human healthy subject. You ended up glucagon insulin parallel release. The confrontation immediately started. And this is the backbone of our modern healthy diet. This phenomenon not only observed in healthy, in obese human, in animal study, all the same, and also even in patient conducted surgery on diabetes. So what is the incretin regulation in this? I'm going to put all this together. Let's say normally insulin glucagon reverse pulsatile release with based on GLP-1 making that happen. But there's another thing, turn off GIP. But when you have a mixed diet, what happened? GIP active because GIP stimulated glucagon and insulin at the same time. This is the same graph as diabetes patient. So this is why today you say, this is what data. Dr. IDF former president Namcho, we lectured the same platform before. I use his data. You say, they found out a fasting total GIP level significantly associated with diabetes, independent of other risk factors. But they, again, people don't understand the implication. So this is also the reason why normal people, we already have so much insulin resistance because we constantly creating this. And look at diabetes. There's no type 1 or 2. Let's say type 1, type 1.5, that's athlete. What happened? Mostly you trigger, I'm sure here we have athlete, we have type 1 diabetes, type 2, you say intensive exercise, nitrogen breakdown. And then insulin action. And then what happens? Ammonia build up just in short time, 2 hours, you can increase by 200, 300 times. And then what happened? You will activating to pee a lot, right? What is the sugar level? When you pee out so much, concentration of sugar will be high. So you will be determined as diabetes. But that is just not happen that simple, because it will trigger also the kidney remove sugar also has a limit. When you trigger that, you have this clash between insulin and glucagon. And the next thing, this is last year Nobel Prize winning about the T regulatory on the immune system. As I said, ammonia increase pH level. When you increase pH level, this is not going to happen. That's not going to work, T regulatory cell. So the brake or immune system is off. Then you have autoimmune. You start to attack yourself, and you have also can have sudden death. Why it happened with young athlete? Because young children, athlete, they have a very strong immune response. So that's the quick fight and death. This is the so-called, we call athlete or type 1 diabetes. And you also can have the gestation diabetes, parallel gestation diabetes. You ask all the patient, what is a pregnant woman, what they eat most? Protein. And then liver is the metabolic Waterloo, because this is the battlefield between glucagon and ammonia. And again, it's time I'm going to go through all these diseases relate to this. And cancer, diabetes link. All this stimulating growth, protein synthesis, everything trigger cancer growth. And we give a very fertile nitrogen and sugar base. So again, 20 million individual, 1 million event shows diabetes and cancer the same. And this is also what I did. There's only one disease, unified disease model. There are only three stress: carbon, oxygen, and nitric stress, and centered around hypoxia oxidative stress, AGE. So now I'm going to ask a $1 million question. Emergency medicine. So what's the emergency medicine? Adrenaline helps save your life. Morphine save defibrillator. Oh, great. But why we don't use them every day? Because it's dangerous. Yet in diabetes, we practice every day emergency medicine. This is fundamentally wrong logic in science, in plant layman's thinking. This is why. And I'm going to the next step. Look at hypoglycemia. When newly developed diabetes and non-diabetic, when you have hypoglycemia, there will be adrenaline and glucagon come out to help you. But when you develop diabetes more than 10 years, what happened? Adrenaline and glucagon both not going to respond to hypoglycemia. And this is when we intensify treatment, intensify insulin, intensify to suppress glucagon. So you ended up, patient die from hypoglycemia because wrong guideline worldwide. Data from type 1, type 2 diabetes all associate closely with timeline of diabetes development. And then you put all the data together, all the major, most impactful study. Type 1, type 2, short-term, newly diagnosed patient, very successful with insulin. But as soon you reach longer than 10 years, not going to work. Just as I said, because hypoglycemia. And then what happens? Look at the result, look at Accord. 19 out of 41 hypoglycemia deaths just misclassifies at cardiovascular. Why? Because glucagon is very important for the heart. When glucagon not come out, patient die, and we consider them as cardiovascular deaths. And this is also looking at the data. Every reporting symptom, they don't know what it causes. Cause hypoglycemia glucagon. Dr. Number, glucagon specific study group in Japan, top doctor. I went back to him using his own data to do analysis for him. He missed himself even. In hypoglycemia study, even didn't look at glucose. You look at what happened. 93.9% of patient hypoglycemia, severe hypoglycemia we talk about, is on insulin intensified treatment. Hypoglycemia, on the same year, insulin discovery was mentioned, and thereafter too. So I quote Jocelyn, insulin is remedy primarily for the wise, not for the foolish. Either patients or doctor, everyone knows it requires brain to live long with diabetes, but to use insulin successfully requires more brain. Insulin transform what would have been otherwise acute, rapid emergency into a long-term serious complication. Hypocritic. Do no harm. This is what I stand for. We do no harm in science. What we do in the name of science for the last 100 years till today, we discover insulin, we make sugar, carb as enemy. In the next year, we give a beautiful Nobel Prize, and we have a beautiful friend, Big Pharma, can produce the drug. 1984, Time magazine claimed war on cholesterol. Next year, we give another beautiful Nobel Prize, and again, we have a beautiful supporters to lower cholesterol. Just this year, new guideline, double the protein intake. What's going to be next year? We are keep on working in the same loop, and still we are so proud what we have done, we have achieved. Do we really achieved something in diabetes? Diabetes India, on our watch, every 5 seconds, one person developing to diabetes. Every 20 seconds, one person lost a leg. Every 6 seconds, one person died. It's a shame. Shame to the world. I'm ashamed to call myself a doctor. On his watch, on his land. And the land of a holy, and today is a holy day, Shivaratis. The light is what we need. Ignorance, the root and stem of all evil. Diabetes India, diabetes world. It's not because we don't have a solution. It's because we don't have the brain, don't have the courage to challenge ourselves. The very foundation we stand on, we are not scientific. Scientific look at death. I wouldn't be comfortably. I say, Benton, if we live today, we would ashamed to death. I quote a proverb from China. 一灯能破千年暗，一智能灭万年余. What does it mean? A spark of light is all it takes to dispel 10,000 years of darkness. And a spark of wisdom is all it takes to dispel 1,000 years of ignorance. For diabetes, a century, I believe we can end in 30 minutes. And this is the only reason I'm here today. And as I said, if this is not going to be rejected in mind, not taken into action, this may be the last presentation I ever do. It only takes a new eye to look at the world for a new century in diabetes and ignorance and diabetes. I don't today, Lord Shiva Rati. I don't pray to Lord. I don't pray to God. I pray to you. You are the master of life. Here we have officials, IDF, we have a top scientist, we have a patient, we have everyone here. We are the one create the world that we must destroy by ourselves. That's in the spirit of Lord Shiva. Without destroying, we cannot create a new world for the next century. I thank you.